Mensuri Gakusei, thank you for tuning in to Mizuchi Dojo Radio, a weekly podcast featuring discussions between the best martial arts in Western New York on a variety of martial arts concepts. I'm your host, Bill Reynolds, and joining me today are these panelists. We have Rob Guida, who has been training since 2010. He is the owner-operator of MSD Kempo Karate since 2012, second-degree black belt in Kempo Karate. We have Bill Nichols, trained since 2013, first GUP in ITF Tae Kwon Do. Jake Rosler, trained since 2005, fourth degree black belt in ITF Tae Kwon Do. And we also have Kris Davison, trained since January 2014, fourth degree black belt in ITF Tae Kwon Do. This episode is brought to us by Mojo Dojo Pride Martial Arts Academy, located at 9135 Sheridan Drive in Clarence, New York, 716-565-0202. They instruct youth and adults MMA, focusing on Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu. All right, this episode is a second sequel. So in the tradition of Matrix, with the second one having been Matrix Reloaded, this one obviously is therefore Kata Revolutions. We're returning again to the discussion of kata because people just can't leave this topic alone. That sounds great to me. I think there's plenty to talk about with kata at all times. But exactly where this conversation is going to go, I can't even tell you. Just like Matrix Revolutions. So, with that said, Jake, you agreed to start us off. So, Hajime.
Yeah, so I wasn't on the last episode, which is a travesty because any longtime listener knows that I am the forums guy. So I am going to take the unpopular opinion. I know a lot of
The
people.
unpopular opinion that you're the forms guy?
No, this is a new sentence.
Oh,
You
okay,
can tell
okay.
because there was a pause.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to
Punctuation
take
man.
the unpopular opinion that I don't care if forms are dance, right? I'm looking at Merriam-Webster right now, right? The definitions for dance: to move one's body rhythmically, usually to music. I think there's a very good argument to say in a form you're moving your body rhythmically.
To music?
Second definition, not it says usually to music.
Okay.
Right?
Usually, that means pretty
Not
much all the
always.
time. Yes, not always, but pretty much.
And the second definition is to move or seem to move up and down or in a quick or lively manner. I mean, like that's again pretty arguable definition of a form.
Of dance, yeah.
Yes, that is the definition of dance. You could argue that a
And
form fits that definition.
and then kata or forms can be defined according to the Oxford Dictionary as an individual training exercise in karate and other martial arts.
Yep.
So it doesn't talk about music or wiggling the body, just training.
Well, usually to music, not always.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't care if somebody thinks it's a dance. Like there is a
Oh, you weren't there for that episode.
vocal.
It was more like could it be considered a dance? Not do people look at it and say, "Oh, that's a
Yeah,
dance."
I think it could be, but I also like it doesn't. That doesn't matter. There is a very vocal percentage of martial artists who are just who need to have some sort of superiority complex to like any similar exercise, a similar form of exercise. Oh, that's not martial arts, that's gymnastics. Oh, that's not martial arts, that's dance. Who cares? Right? And I know last week or on the last episode, somebody talked about like the intent of doing a form. If you're intending to like throw powerful punches and intending to throw like purposeful kicks, then it's a form. But if you're just kind of going through the motions, it's a dance. Dances are done with intent. I mean, it's just like I think this is getting hung up on whether forms are dance is such a silly thing that I can't believe that it occupies so much headspace in so many martial artists. The other thing I want to say in my opening thoughts, and then I'll turn it over to someone else, is, I've lost it now. I was so passionate about that part. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. But let me turn the floor to someone else.
All right, let's go, Kris.
Yes, sir. So this is just a general revelation or revolution on our opinions on kata, correct? Or forms, or tull, or pumse, or whatever you call it.
I think so. I think we all can agree when we say kata or forms or the other words you use that they probably are all the same thing.
Okay. So listening to Master Rosler give us his thoughts on the matter, I agree that when another martial artist says all forms is just dance, or what they're really doing is trivializing a different art for whatever reason. And I find that doing kata, if you're doing kata correctly, it's a hell of a workout. For one, when we're doing a night of Yushin, I'm drenched in sweat at the end of it. So is it a dance? I don't care what you call it. It's a great workout. It builds muscle memory. You can extract self-defense applications from it. I think I'll go as far as to say, if your martial art doesn't include some form of kata, form, tull, whatever, is it really a martial art? I don't
I want to
know.
build on that. That was the other thing I was going to say. So, Kris, when you're done.
Go ahead.
So that was the other part of the conversation on the last episode was, people say that doing kata is like preparing, it teaches you what you would do in a fight. But, that's not realistic because a fight isn't scripted. And they're right. Fights aren't scripted. I will never argue that. I don't think anybody ever would argue that. However, there is no difference between me doing a 3 to 4 move segment from a form and me doing a 3 to 4 move kickboxing combination, or me doing a 3 to 4 move jits technique. It is somebody has presented this technique to you. This is one way you could react to it, or this series of techniques to you. This is one way you could react to it. A section of a form is really no different than 2-step sparring, 3-step sparring, whatever.
Okay.
This is so dumb.
Kris, were you done?
I was done. I think
Okay.
Mr. Guida has something to say.
Yeah, apparently. Rob, opening thoughts.
This is so dumb. I swear to God, anybody who argues forms are just dance are morons that shouldn't be teaching martial arts.
Oh
Like,
man. Okay, so that was
I swear to you, like it is the dumbest statement I've ever heard in my
That,
life.
that my kids.
I'm not going to defend forms. Let me back up. Let me explain something. I'm in the Army. I've been in the Army for 30 years. I started in some of the best Army units there are. I went to 503rd Airborne in Vicenza, Italy, for the Ranger Regiment. I went to the 82nd Airborne. Then I went to 20 Special Forces Group. I've been in some of the best units. Guess what? We can't practice combat. You know why? Because it's impossible to practice combat. So what do? You get everyone together and you go a little map and you say, here's what you're going to do, and here's what you're going to do, and here's what you're going to do, and here's what you're going to do. And guess what we do? We synchronize and coordinate all these things. And then we get on a piece of big map and we do it and we walk around synchronized and coordinated. And then we get on like the training area and we walk through it all and it's synchronized and it's coordinated and it's predisposed and it's not it's not real. What is it? It's training and it's fake. But how do you get good at combat? You drill and you practice. How do you practice combat? Well, you have to practice in some way because you can't do it. So now, guess what we do? We get our little rubber duck rifles out there. And we have people running through the woods and they go bang bang and pew pew and we practice. And then after that, we give them real rifles and with blanks in their hands. And then guess what they do? They go bang bang with blank weapons. And they practice and it's synchronized and choreographed and it's a big choreographed dance with all these people. That's all it is. And that's how you get good. And then when you go to combat, you can rely on all that training that you've done because you've done it and you've trained it and you've drilled it. I truly think people who don't think kata is worth it just do not understand kata. They just don't get it.
Okay, thank you. Bill, opening thoughts.
Oh man, I get to follow that. Do I have enough swear words for that?
You can just say
no more swear words, please.
Sorry, I forgot, Bill.
That's bad. Okay. I'll edit it out.
Well, the bright side is, Rob, my children are to bed now, so they didn't hear all that. With that in mind, I will say that I am in Rosler's situation. I do love kata and I do love practicing kata. Much the same reason that Kris said was because it is a great workout. But there is a self-defense application of it. I'm working on a new kata now at our school that I've been learning over the last few weeks. And I ask applications of some of the moves so that I do understand why I'm doing what and when. In this case, most of the time I understand where it would be applicable. There was one move in this specific case that I didn't. So I did ask. I asked actually both Master Davison and Master Kane at the school. Um, for it. So, I mean, I do see that it's application. I think this also goes into things that we've talked about in the past where you don't have much time to act. So, having some built up, quote, muscle memory that goes along with that is huge because if something does come up, yeah, will the scenario be exactly the same? No, but the use of those muscles and having an understanding of that is important. As for the dance thing, I also think the idea of the of a dance thing is silly. Mainly because Master Rosler and Master Davison doesn't hold my hips when we do kata. Um,
We can change that.
Only when you
I want to
ask.
see it. I want pictures.
well, I mean, we already had you as a banana doing kata.
That was fun. That was a good day.
That was a good day. That was a fun video.
All right, we got also a walk in right now. We got Mr. John Grandstaff, trained since 2021. Second Q Mizuchi Do. Welcome, John. We were talking about kata, following up to the prior two episodes. One that got at is there meaning in kata, and then the second one being is kata a dance of death? So that was kata and kata reloaded. So tonight we're doing kata revolutions. Uh, Further thoughts on kata and what you missed was and to recap anyway, so far it sounds like people are saying, is it a dance, is it not a dance, who cares, it's a good workout, and and that's that, or as Rob was putting in there, there is training for self-defense in there, and if you don't see that, you don't know kata. So John, what are your opening thoughts?
Well, in the very beginning, when I first started learning kata, it was really meaningless to me. But you personally have put the meaning in it,
Well,
and
and to be fair, I was your second instructor,
true. But
so
you're actually the one that made kata say, "Here's what it is." And well, even Hanshi Jim said to me, he goes, "If you learn all of upper 15, you'll be able to do all the kata because all the basics are in the kata." And kata it's a verse vice versa verse versa. um but yeah, once you start analyzing it and say, okay, this move is that move and this is a wrist lock or this could be a joint destruction or a throw, it really unlocks something in your mind where it helps you I think become even better, like even when you spar. I understand where you said this is where you need to, I'm giving you this, you need to see it, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. But no, is it a dance? Yeah, it could be. It could be viewed that way. I think it depends on your style or your system. I think some karate has better kata than other karate. I think
okay,
some of it's real
We
basic, and I think our system has the best kata. Honestly, it's the most complicated, it's the
hands
most
down.
long form,
Well,
and it's the
second.
most evil.
we we need a capoeira guy to weigh in on this.
Well,
Their
those guys
dance.
are something else. They're
Yeah,
they're
That's a
two-handed.
dance. Come on.
their dance. But okay, yes,
Well, it is.
but it would
It's
be good to
dance
hear what they have to
fighting.
say. All right, thank you, John, for your opening thoughts. I think one thing I'll just build on to what John and I think others are saying as well. I think I think what happens here, what is happening here, is sort of the same thing we talked about in a prior episode. I think the opening episode of this season, which was that there are trolls out there, and they're going to say bad things about whatever they're seeing up there. It's just not good enough or it's ridiculous and somehow. And I think, there you could say that these people are either being ahistorical, or they're being they're not you looking at that form, in this case, in context. So what I mean to say is that here we are in the year 2026, and if you're seeing somebody performing a kata, you're most likely seeing them at a competition, and so they are performing their kata for competition. And what does that mean? They're going to try to make it look great. What does that mean? They're not concerned about self-defense. They're concerned about you as a judge or you as an audience member being wowed by what they do. So they're going to add in a bunch of stuff that is really just dance moves. They're not martial arts really. They're baton twirling, or they're screaming matches. I don't know. They're different things, and that's what you need to. Like we talked about in a last season. These are things you need to do to win. And so when people criticize that, I think they're taking this thing out of context. This person trained and is performing to compete, not for self-defense. But then, like the people who say kata have no meaning, I feel like they probably went to schools where that's all they taught for kata. Kata is a competition tool, and not at a more traditional or classical school where, as John is saying, in our school, which is very classical in its orientation, these are self-defense things. These are training tools. This is, as Rob said, this is actually trying to prepare you for the idea of engagement with multiple people over time, as well as some training stuff in there too. And I think the one thing that, I think every time we talk about this, I feel is lost, but at least John has experienced and heard me say at length over and over again. The when you do basics, you're just learning each of these different techniques in isolation. How to do this punch correctly, how to do this kick correctly, how to do this joint lock correctly. But you're not doing it within the idea that you will be in an engagement with a person in a fluid situation. And when you are fighting, or as some of our people will call it, mainly the popular sport, sparring, you're not really you're just reacting within the moment. You're not thinking about what you're doing in that moment. It would require a black belt later on saying, "Oh, I noticed while you were fighting, you did XYZ," and hopefully you remember that, or they videoed it so you could look and see what you did and what they're talking about. But when you're doing kata, you are very specifically looking at your moves and how you're doing them. And if you're training kata correctly, the way we do at our school, you're not just doing it by yourself. You're doing it at times with partners who are being the bad guy for you, so you can like see and feel and get an idea of how these moves can actually work. Um, and like we talk about in our classes, because I really focus hard on kata. I've changed the kata since I opened in 2021, since how I trained, because I like tried to, when I had a partner and I tried to apply it, I'm like, this doesn't make sense like this. So we're gonna tweak it and do it a little bit differently. And I don't feel bad about that, because I know that I just shared with my students a kata called Shinto, which was being performed by Shorin Roost black belts. And in theory, Ishinru, which some of us trained in, is doing the exact same kata and derived from Shorin-ryu. And yet, if you look at an Ishinru version of Shinto, it is not what Shorin-ryu does. And certainly, if you look at what we're doing at Mizuchi-do, it's not really what Ishinru is doing now either. Everybody tweaks things as you go to like teach the lessons. But I think my last point before we open this up to broader discussion, my impression is that in other schools, because you go in with an attitude of like, look, we're just going to repeat what the master showed us. There is no meaning behind these moves. Just do these moves in these orders because that's the way it's supposed to be done. There won't be any growth or change, or any kind of like sense of making this understandable, as Robert was saying, as a training tool. It'll just be essentially a dance, a sequence of moves that have no meaning, that you just do in a certain order at a certain speed that you could possibly apply music to. All right, that's my rant. Let's open it up to broader discussion, reactions, thoughts, revolutions.
you only know what you've been taught too, and that's part of the problem, right? So like my first school didn't teach kata, and I disparaged it because I thought it was stupid. And it wasn't until I started learning it I realized, oh, it's the same thing as training the moves, so I can practice. Oh, I get it. Like I kind of see it. Like you're only a product of whatever you were taught, and bad teachers promote bad students, which promote other bad teachers, and that's unfortunate. It's like but that's kind of what we talked about earlier. It's so hard to find a good teacher, a truly good teacher. It's so hard to find.
Taekwondo people,
Right.
you all appear stunned over there. What's going on? You're thinking
No,
hard.
I'm
I just want to add, for those people who hate kata, somebody else doing a form or even doing it differently than how you expect doesn't invalidate your training. If you don't care about forms, do you want to learn self-defense? I mean, I think you're wrong in that forms can absolutely help teach you self-defense. We've covered that multiple times on this episode. But if you just want to fight, okay, cool. That's fine. That's what you can focus on. But that doesn't mean somebody else doing a form makes makes martial arts worse or makes it something that you think that you want to disparage or look down on. People are
That's a good
dumb.
point.
That's
People are
that's
dumb. That's a
basically
good
what I'm
point.
getting at. People are dumb.
Well said.
still trying to unpack all those words Renshi threw out there. What?
I don't know what words you
Oh,
talking
I'm
about.
serious. Can you distill that down to a consumable bite? Because
Oh, okay.
I didn't follow you.
Okay, so kata should be evaluated based upon what the student and their teacher intend to use kata for. That was one thing I said. And then I guess the other part I said is that kata had different uses depending upon what sort of philosophical era your system came from. Sort of like I think what Rob was saying, what your teacher teaches you, that's what you know, that's all you can do. And if I teach my students that kata is a self-defense training tool, that it is like somebody recently, there's this I'm sorry, I'm gonna get wordy, but there's this French martial artist or Canadian guy who's been doing stuff with Datu Tim.
Andre, Sensei
Andre.
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 Andre
Andre,
Lemieux.
yeah,
We
and so
call him
lately,
Good
scary
dude.
karate guy.
yeah,
Karate guy.
he's like showing up in my feed a lot more. I don't know if he's saying more stuff or just somehow that's how the algorithm works. But
He's
anyway,
good
He
looking.
recorded a bunch of stuff at his tournament. And
okay, so he posted a thing says, which do you like better? I think he said kata or fighting, and I said, well, I don't know how you like. I can't divide them up. To me, if you're training in karate, you're going to train in basics, you're going to train in fighting, and you're going to train in forms. Kihon, kumite, kata, and they all are one, and none of them are not the other. They all include each other in some way or another. So anyway, I find I find it difficult when people try to separate them out and say, "Oh, this is completely impractical nonsense. It's just a historic dance type of thing." And it's fun, but it otherwise there's nothing to be learned from this. That makes me sad. Was that better? I don't know. Too much, still too many words?
that that was
Been
long.
hitting the head a lot, sir. Go ahead, Bill.
I mean, for me though, it's also I like both the aspect of using it as a sport and as way of training. The way I think of kata too, though, is it's a way that you can train repeatability in your self-defense without ever having to actually have a partner. Yes, I agree it's useful to have a partner too and to see where the kata goes there, but I don't always have a training partner. I have mats in my basement. I can go practice my kata. I can get my reps in so I get that muscle memory. and kata becomes that, so I can work those pieces. I can work that muscle
Sorry.
memory. I can work that through um, for it. But I think also it's easier to understand that as adult martial artists. It's a little bit harder to explain that to children martial artists too as we go. And I do believe that in my training, I would like to see more application used. And I'm hoping that maybe in the future or this upcoming year that we will see more of that. Because I do feel like application is left behind sometimes.
Yeah,
I would
well,
go as far as to say that it sort of is separate, but it brings you around full circle into your training. Um, the way it teaches you to move and think. Um, it's just like another tool that I think it's not at least in our system. It's definitely not sport for me, but it's a psychological tool. I think for prepping me on how to use my skills, even when it comes to the sparring and the kumite that we do.
yeah, well, I think, look, as I said before, when you fight, when you do kumite or sparring, you're sort of just completely fluid. Things are happening. And I think that what kata provides is an opportunity to see the strategy in fighting. I do this and then I do that. Why? Well, if I here put a body in here, now you can see I did this, it folded them at their stomach, and now I'm grabbing a hold of their collar, or I'm striking them at the back of the neck because they felled it over or something like that. And you don't have that kind of opportunity for analysis and practice um, when you're just fighting. And certainly when you're doing basics, you're usually just doing a thing by itself. You don't follow up with other stuff unless, you're doing that, I guess. But for the most part, basics is like just teaching things in isolation. Uh, I guess it sounds like the panel is for the most part on the same point that just kata is a useful training tool, useful for training all of a martial art or training by yourself in the martial art. Because I think that we've had former panelists who said they just see kata as a good tool to use when you're by yourself instead of when you're in class. Um, and I think that's interesting to me. Like, I don't think you were saying that, Bill. But somebody else actually said something like that this was like only for basically while you're by yourself. And as already mentioned, I do see that because I certainly do kata on my own. Like when I'm out of town and I'm in some hotel's little mini gym, I'm doing all my kata by myself. But uh, but I will say that the strength and training in kata does rely on, doing it with people, either pulling out elements of the kata and showing that self-defense possible interpretation, but also partnering up and having somebody run all around you and playing all the parts of all the bad guys. Like when we look at kata, we'll find not only times where I think we're just practicing balance, we're just conditioning our body, we're practicing breathing, but then there's definite sequences where, we strike somebody several times and then we throw them to the ground. Or we, strike somebody several times and then we like tear something out of them. So it's
I,
I think there's still and it's better if you like have a partner to like help you see how that works or doesn't work if you're doing the form
right.
correctly or not.
I have no problem with doing it with a partner. The problem is I'm a 40-year-old male with two kids, and I don't always have the chance to be training with my
Yeah,
partner.
no, I still think it's
So it
fine to
lets
do
me
it
get that,
individually. I'm just saying
yeah,
that
it lets
somebody's
me
saying
get
that
that
that's
muscle memory and that strength.
I think somebody was saying once before that that's all it's good for. It's just when you're by yourself, regardless of your age or your
Oh,
circumstances. They were saying they didn't see the point in ever doing this with another person.
no,
Tell
no,
that person they're wrong.
yeah, I definitely think they're wrong in
The
that
wolf.
case, but I do also believe that it is a way for me to continue my training without having to have a partner.
Well, and I think too, and the particular challenge when you're by yourself with that is what something that one of my he went on to become a 10th degree a black belt, but at the time he was a seventh, and he always said that, when I watch you do your kata by yourself, like I would be before class or after class just practicing kata, and he would be on the side watching. He'd say, I need to see you seeing who you're dealing with. So I think that's the great challenge to kata doing it by yourself is having to create your partner in your head and imagine how you're engaging them or how they're attempting to engage you and why you're now doing what you're doing. So I think that's it from that perspective. It's a great individualized solo training tool.
That's
It's a,
also fun to do in groups.
oh yeah, it's beautiful in groups
Yeah.
when they're synchronized. It's great. Do you guys ever like what we do? And we also have people like have do their kata, but I have a small school. We have them do their kata in front of the rest of the class. And then after they're done with the kata, we ask them, what do you think you need to improve on? What do you think of how you did just then? And then we ask the rest of the people who witnessed, do you have any feedback for the person? Are you guys able to do that? Do you have time for that in your schools?
We do that around tournament time. What I've always instructed the students on their feedback is give one positive thing, one thing they did really well, one thing they need to work on.
Oh,
Positive
sweet.
sandwich.
People seem to do that naturally. I'm just gonna tell you that they always like,
Kids don't, I can tell you that much.
oh. Fair. Rob, do you guys get a chance to I don't, do you guys like to demonstrate forms for each other and then like give each other feedback?
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I don't normally ask for feedback from the other students, sometimes from the senior students, but I make sure they do it. They do something in front of everybody. I think it's important for a young student to get up there and demonstrate something in a group where everyone's looking at them. You have to give them a little bit of build that confidence that they can perform at a tournament, that they can do something, and that's just a way of getting them used to it, right? Even if they just do a simple like blocking set, they get up there in front of the whole class, they do it and do it by themselves.
well, I would open. I don't know if you were eliminating adults from that opportunity, but
No, 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 no. Adults definitely do it. I'm just saying, like,
but it's good for kids too. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just to get up there on their own and do it at least, something in front of everybody.
I know that we're running out of time. We can certainly have closing thoughts from people. I guess one thing you just reminded me of, which I think is something that I would have all instructors consider, that the another utility of kata, especially when asked to perform it in front of others, not and beyond just the testing day, and not in like, as I think as Kris said, in a group setting, but like on a testing day just by yourself, which is something, I sometimes will offer that to students is that they can do it if there's multiple people going for the same rank, then they could do it together or they could do it individually. Again, that's small of a school, but I think it's exactly what you're talking about, this idea that there's when I'm at least when I'm fighting, I am not paying attention to anybody but the person right in front of me that I have to deal with.
Right.
I'm not thinking about the audience. It's easy to do. Once that guy says go, it's go time.
Murder.
Murder. But with kata, especially if you have people perform it, I mean, you are deadly aware of how there's people all around. And that
That's
does build a muscle in you to be able to do difficult things despite what's going around you and who might be seeing
that's
you.
probably the most stress we could put a student under in reality
Hmm.
when they think 1,000 people are watching them.
Other closing thoughts.
It also serves them, just somebody who was a college professor for 10 years and makes their students stand up. More students should, because it's something that they're going to have to do in life, and that confidence of being able to get in front of people doing kata also will bring them success in other aspects of their life too.
Bill, real quick, when you said, you mentioned several times you have a small school. When you give your students that option, what do they tend to do? Do they tend to do it singly or do they prefer to do it in a group? Just wondering.
The one time I had it recently, it was singles.
Really?
Mhm. Yep, they wanted to. I think and you can. I think everybody can sympathize with this. Even maybe our listeners who practice martial arts. One of the skills that you get when doing kata in groups is how to not get distracted or thrown off by what everybody else is doing around you.
100.
Yeah. So, sometimes I feel like the ability to both be aware of what everybody's doing around you at the same time, but not getting screwed up by it, that's another skill.
It definitely threw me off for a long time, and the other thing too is when you're doing it in a group, and now as I become an upper belt going towards black, it's for a long time it was easy to hide in the group
Hmm.
and just kind of fake some of the moves, fake it till you make it. But now you really test yourself, and you gotta between the timing of the higher belts where you're trying to get at and you doing your own thing, you can't get caught up in just trying to hide. You got to actually, because Frenchie is looking.
Okay, great. And I'm gonna have to stop you there. Yame, thank you everybody. Thank you panelists. Thank you listeners. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. You can share them to our threads, Mitsuji_Dojo. You can email us at our email. Check out our show notes. It has all the good stuff in there. Join our Patreon, as Jake Rossler is fond of saying. The more people that subscribe, the more cool things we could do, like not being limited at the end of this episode to say this stuff really quickly. And with that, I'll say Mata Yasai.